Welcome to our channel HD Rare Coin 111, your go-to spot for uncovering the incredible world of rare US coins. If you've ever wondered if your old pennies, nickels, or dimes are worth more than face value, you're about to find out. In today's video, we'll be exploring some truly rare coins and their shocking values. And if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. So let's jump in. Top 1. The United States of America has long been known not just for its iconic monuments and patriotic history, but also for something far smaller in size, yet rich in meaning and sometimes rich in actual value: its coins. Among them, few coins capture the imagination of collectors and history lovers quite like the Eisenhower $1 coin. And today, we're diving deep into the story of the very first one ever minted, the 1971 Eisenhower dollar, and exploring why this unassuming piece of metal could be worth an astonishing fortune today. Let's take a journey back to the early 1970s. The year was 1971. America was still mourning the recent passing of a great military leader and former president, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Known for his leadership during World War II and his calm guidance as the 34th President of the United States, Eisenhower had left a legacy that touched nearly every American family. So, when it came time to honor his life and contributions, what better tribute than placing his face on the nation's most significant coin? This was no ordinary dollar. The Eisenhower dollar marked the first time in decades that a US dollar coin was minted with such size and prominence. It was big, bold, and it made a statement, just like the man himself. Crafted with precision and care, the 1971 Eisenhower dollar was released both for general circulation and as collector's editions, including stunning silver-clad proofs and specially minted coins straight from the US Mint. Now, here's where things get interesting. While millions of Eisenhower dollars were struck between 1971 and 1978, not all of them are created equal. In fact, among the entire series, one year in particular holds a powerful mystique: the 1971 edition. This was the very first year of production, and as with many firsts, it came with a few surprises. Some coins were struck using prototype dies. Others had slight variations or errors. These anomalies, barely visible to the naked eye, could change a coin's value dramatically. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that looks ordinary to most, but to a trained eye or an experienced collector, it radiates something extraordinary. A coin like that doesn't just sit in a drawer or fall between couch cushions. It commands attention at auction houses, turns heads at collector conventions, and becomes a centerpiece of museum displays. And in some cases, it demands a price tag that would shock most people. You might be wondering, how can a coin that originally cost $1 ever reach such a high value? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and historical significance. When you combine a low mintage, a flawless or near-flawless grade from coin grading authorities, and a direct connection to a pivotal figure in American history, you've got a recipe for something truly valuable. It's important to understand that coins are graded on a scale, typically from 1 to 70. A coin graded near 70, especially if it's from the first year of issue, is incredibly rare. It means the coin has survived over half a century without losing its shine, without scratches, and with all its original features perfectly intact. Now combine that level of preservation with a first-year Eisenhower dollar, potentially struck with special dies or showcasing a unique error. Suddenly, what was once a simple dollar becomes a crown jewel in the world of numismatics. Collectors and dealers from all over the globe hunt for these coins. Some are passed down through generations, others hidden away in forgotten bank vaults or old dresser drawers. But every once in a while, one surfaces. One that breaks records. One that makes headlines. One that leaves even the most seasoned collector speechless. And so, after all this time, the 1971 Eisenhower $1 coin continues to be one of the most watched and most desired coins in American numismatic history. Whether it's because of its symbolic tribute to a beloved president, its role in the transition from silver to base metal coinage, or its bold, handsome design, this coin refuses to be forgotten. It stands as a reminder that sometimes, the most ordinary things, those we pass around every day, can turn out to be treasures beyond our imagination. So the next time you come across a dollar coin, take a closer look. You might just be holding a tiny piece of American history, and if you're incredibly lucky, something worth far more than its face value. And how much exactly, you ask? One particular 1971 Eisenhower dollar, in impeccable condition and possessing just the right combination of rarity and historical value, has been appraised and sold for an unbelievable amount of $255,000. Top 2. When we talk about American history, we often think about great presidents, epic wars, and unforgettable moments that shaped a nation. But hidden within that rich and complex legacy is something much smaller, yet deeply symbolic: the American coin. And among those coins, one stands out not only for its design and history, but for its incredible and sometimes unbelievable value. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating coins the United States has ever minted, the 1972 Eisenhower $1 coin. A coin that, at first glance, might seem ordinary, until you realize just how extraordinary it truly is. The early 1970s were a time of transition for the United States. The Vietnam War was still raging, cultural revolutions were changing society, and technology was on the move with America's eyes still fixed on the moon. Amid this backdrop, the United States Mint released a new dollar coin, one that honored a national hero, a war general, and a former president, Dwight D. Eisenhower. But this was more than just a coin. It was a statement, a tribute, and a bold step forward in American coinage. The Eisenhower dollar was the first dollar coin issued by the U.S. Mint since the peace dollar era ended in the 1930s. Larger than most coins in circulation, the Ike dollar, as collectors call it, featured a proud, stately portrait of Eisenhower on the obverse, strong, serious, and unmistakably American. But the reverse side was equally iconic, showcasing the American eagle landing on the moon, a direct nod to the Apollo 11 mission, the very spirit of exploration and achievement. Now, while the Eisenhower dollars were minted from 1971 to 1978, the 1972 version holds a unique and mysterious allure. Why? Because 1972 wasn't just one coin, it was, in fact, 3 different coins. The 1972 Eisenhower dollar was struck with 3 distinct reverse designs, known to collectors as Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3. And within that trifecta lies the heart of the coin's rarity and value. Type 1 featured bold, blocky lettering and a globe with rough, indistinct landmasses. Type 2 was entirely different. It had a much smoother earth and less detail, and it was only struck in Philadelphia in limited quantities. That's right, Type 2 is the rarest of the 3, and it is one of the most sought-after coins in all of modern U.S. coinage. It's so rare that most people have never even seen one in person. It's the kind of coin that collectors dream about, not just because of its scarcity, but because it was struck by mistake. Yes, the Type 2 reverse was never meant for widespread use. It was a die mix-up, an error at the mint, and only a few thousand were ever released before the issue was corrected. Now imagine this: you're going through a jar of old coins, maybe your father's or grandfather's collection, and you come across a 1972 Eisenhower dollar. It looks like the others. It feels heavy, solid, impressive. But what you might not realize at that moment is that you could be holding one of the rarest coins of the 20th century. One with a small difference on the earth behind the eagle. A tiny variation that transforms it from a common coin into a legendary treasure. But the story doesn't end with the reverse type. Condition matters, a lot. These coins were big, and they weren't always handled with care. Most circulated Eisenhower dollars are scuffed, nicked, and worn down from years of use. But a few, just a few, were carefully preserved, never touched by human hands, stored away in pristine condition. These are the coins that truly shine, both literally and figuratively, when they are graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. When a 1972 Eisenhower dollar, especially the ultra-rare Type 2 variety, is found in near-perfect condition, known as mint state, or even proof, the value skyrockets. These coins are the hidden gems of the numismatic world. They carry stories, they carry history, and most importantly, they carry serious value. They're not just collector's items, They're investment pieces, museum-worthy artifacts, and national treasures. Collectors across the globe chase after these coins. They study tiny details with magnifying glasses, comparing earth contours and letter spacing. They attend auctions, search online marketplaces, and pore through estate sales hoping to find that one coin, the holy grail of Eisenhower dollars. And when one finally surfaces in perfect condition, paired with the correct reverse type and authenticated by experts, it doesn't just make news. It makes headlines. You see, this isn't just about a coin. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about holding a piece of history in the palm of your hand. It's about realizing that something as small and simple as a dollar coin can hold a value far beyond its face. And that brings us to the reason you've stayed with this story. The reason collectors lose sleep over the Eisenhower dollar. The reason someone, somewhere, paid an eye-watering amount of money to own it. Because one particular 1972 Eisenhower dollar, perfectly preserved, expertly graded, and verified as the elusive Type II reverse, has been valued and sold for a truly staggering amount, $245,000. Top 3. In the grand story of the United States, every piece of currency tells a chapter. From crisp paper notes to solid silver coins, every dollar that passes through our hands carries more than just monetary value. It carries history, identity, and sometimes, hidden treasure. But among all the coins minted by the U.S. Mint, few capture mystery, pride, and collector obsession quite like the Eisenhower $1 series. And today, we turn the spotlight on a very specific year, 1974, and a coin that may be sitting quietly in someone's drawer, not knowing it could be worth a life-changing amount. The Eisenhower dollar was never just another coin. Introduced in 1971, it was the first dollar coin minted by the U.S. since the peace dollar ceased production in 1935. It marked the return of a large-format coin, almost silver dollar-sized, after decades of absence. But more than that, it was a tribute, a powerful, public reminder of the legacy of Dwight D. Eisenhower, the Supreme Commander of Allied Forces in World War II and the 34th President of the United States. By the time 1974 rolled around, the Eisenhower dollar was in full production. Millions were being struck for circulation, both at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, while special collector versions in silver were being produced in San Francisco. To the average person, these coins seemed common, a big, shiny coin with a commanding portrait of Eisenhower on one side and a majestic eagle landing on the moon on the other. But just beneath the surface of that seemingly ordinary dollar lies a story of extraordinary value. You see, not every coin is created equal, not even those that were supposed to be. With mass production at the mint, mistakes happen. Dies get misaligned. Metal compositions vary. Designs evolve. And every once in a while, something incredibly rare slips through, a variety, an error, or a unique strike that instantly sets a coin apart from the millions of others. And the 1974 Eisenhower dollar is one of those coins where this phenomenon truly comes to life. Now let's talk specifics. There are several types of 1974 Eisenhower dollars. Some are made for circulation, struck in copper-nickel clad. Others are made as special collector editions, struck in a silver-clad format with mirror-like proof finishes. But among these, a few stand out for reasons that continue to puzzle and excite collectors to this day. Some were struck with unexpected die varieties. Others have doubling on the lettering or date. Some show unusually deep and sharp details, suggesting they may have been struck more than once, or with specially prepared dies. But what truly drives the value of a 1974 Eisenhower dollar into the stratosphere isn't just the type, it's the condition. In the coin collecting world, condition is everything. A coin graded mint state 60 might fetch a few dollars. But a coin in near-perfect mint state 67, 68, or even 69? That's a whole different story. Very few coins survive in such pristine condition, especially larger ones like the Eisenhower dollar, which are prone to contact marks and blemishes during the minting and transportation process. And here's where it gets exciting. Some 1974 Eisenhower dollars, discovered in untouched rolls, forgotten collections, or long-lost proof sets, have turned out to be in virtually flawless condition. When sent to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, they receive grades so high, so rare, that they enter elite territory. These coins become not just collectible, but legendary. They are auctioned off at elite numismatic events. They are locked behind glass displays at international coin expos. They are written about in magazines, blogs, and collector forums. And the people who own them? They become part of a very exclusive club. Imagine, for a moment, owning a coin that most people assume is worth only $1, but you know better. You know the subtle differences. You know the unique traits. You know its story, its origin, and its worth. That's the magic of numismatics, the thrill of discovering something extraordinary in something so ordinary. And the 1974 Eisenhower $1 coin is more than just metal. It's a time capsule. It speaks of a post-war America finding its footing again. It carries the face of a leader who once commanded armies and later guided a nation. Top 4. Throughout American history, there have been many symbols of freedom, unity, and strength. From the soaring eagle to the waving flag, the essence of the United States is captured not only in monuments and words, but also in the coins we carry every day. But every so often, a coin comes along that does more than just pay for a cup of coffee. It tells a powerful story. One such coin is the Kennedy half-dollar, specifically the special edition released to honor the United States bicentennial, a unique coin stamped with the years 1776 to 1976. It's more than just a currency. It's a piece of patriotic celebration, and for a lucky few, it's a piece of hidden treasure. Let's journey back to the mid-1970s. America was preparing for one of the biggest celebrations in its history, the bicentennial. 200 years of independence, freedom, and progress. The country was buzzing with pride. Parades were planned, flags were flown on every street, and patriotic spirit surged through every corner of the nation. And to mark this historic moment, the United States Mint made a bold decision to temporarily redesign some of its coins for the first time in decades. The quarter, the dollar, and yes, the half-dollar, were chosen for this special commemorative redesign. Each of these coins would bear not just a fresh reverse design, but also a double date, 1776 to 1976. It was a salute to the birth of a nation, and collectors and the public alike were instantly captivated. Now, the Kennedy half-dollar already carried emotional weight. Introduced in 1964, just months after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy, the coin became an immediate icon. Americans cherished it not just as currency, but as a tribute to a young, hopeful leader whose life had been cut short. So when the bicentennial edition was released with its own commemorative design, it combined two powerful symbols, the legacy of Kennedy and the spirit of American independence. The 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar features Kennedy's familiar profile on the front, strong, dignified, timeless. But the reverse was a brand new design created just for the occasion. Instead of the usual presidential seal, the back of the coin displays a dramatic image of Independence Hall, the birthplace of American freedom, the very building where the Declaration of Independence was debated and signed. But as we know, not all coins are created equal. And the Kennedy half-dollar from this era is no exception. Most of the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollars were made from a copper nickel-clad composition and released into general circulation. They were produced by the millions and handed out in change, stored in coin jars, and given to kids as keepsakes. But a limited number were also struck in a 40% silver composition, made specifically for collectors, and released in special uncirculated or proof sets from the mint. These silver versions were never meant for regular use. They were struck with more care, using polished dies and cleaner blanks, creating coins with beautiful, mirror-like surfaces and fine detail. And here's where the story takes a dramatic turn, because within this special series, there are a handful of coins that, for a number of fascinating reasons, have become some of the most desirable and valuable in the world of coin collecting. Some of these rare bicentennial Kennedy half-dollars show unusual features, like doubled dies, off-center strikes, or incorrect planchets. Others are prized for their incredibly high grades, the few that have been preserved in absolutely flawless condition. Coins that have never been touched by human hands. Coins that were sealed away the moment they were minted. Coins that, decades later, are still in the same perfect state as the day they were struck. Collectors go wild for these specimens. And for good reason. The 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar holds not just emotional and historical value, but in some very specific cases, serious financial value as well. These aren't just coins, they are investments. They are museum-worthy artifacts. They are pieces of national pride that happen to be worth far more than the average person could imagine. Now imagine this. You're cleaning out a dusty old drawer, flipping through an inherited collection, or browsing at a local estate sale. You come across a bicentennial half-dollar. You pause, turning it over in your hand. It feels heavy. It looks pristine. And for a moment, it just feels different. Could it be one of those coins? One of the few? One of the legendary rarities known to collectors but unknown to the general public? In the world of coin collecting, moments like this are real. They happen. People discover treasures in the most unexpected places. What looks like spare change turns out to be a 5-figure or even 6-figure fortune. All because of a small detail. A particular mint mark. A flawless surface. A rare die variety. A piece of history in your palm that the world suddenly wants. So before you toss that Kennedy half-dollar into a tip jar or back into a coin roll, take a second look. Check the date. Check the details. You might just be holding one of the most valuable coins ever produced by the United States Mint during the bicentennial era, because one such 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar, struck in silver, preserved in pristine condition, and verified as one of the highest-grade specimens ever discovered, has been appraised and sold for the astonishing amount of $210,000. Top 5. Every once in a while, a coin comes along that tells more than just a financial story. It speaks to a nation's grief, its resilience, and its evolving identity. One such coin, powerful in meaning, steeped in history, and today, shockingly valuable, is the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar. At first glance, it might seem like just another piece of pocket change from decades past. But hidden in the fine lines of its design and deep in its production story is a secret that has transformed a handful of these coins into treasures worth a small fortune. The journey begins with one of the most iconic and emotional chapters in American history, the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963. Just months after his death, the U.S. Mint moved swiftly to honor the fallen leader. And by early 1964, the Kennedy half-dollar was born. It wasn't just a tribute, it was a national symbol of mourning and remembrance. Americans from all walks of life held onto these coins as keepsakes, and many refused to spend them. They became personal tokens of a collective grief. Fast forward to 1971, and the Kennedy half-dollar was already a familiar sight in American hands. But something significant changed that year, something that makes the 1971 edition stand apart from all the others before it. For the first time since its introduction, the Kennedy half-dollar would no longer be struck in silver. Prior to this year, the coin had been made with a 40% silver composition. Starting in 1971, the U.S. Mint transitioned the coin to a copper-nickel-clad design. It was a move driven by rising silver prices and the evolving needs of a modern economy. This shift marked the end of the silver era for the half-dollar. And while millions of 1971 Kennedy half-dollars were minted for circulation, not all were created equal. Deep within that vast production run are rare varieties, unique errors, and pristine specimens that today command serious attention in the world of coin collecting. Let's break it down. Most 1971 Kennedy half-dollars were struck at either the Philadelphia or Denver Mint and released directly into circulation. They were intended to be used like any other coin, dropped into vending machines, exchanged at cash registers, or forgotten in dresser drawers. These coins took a beating over the years, developing scratches, dings, and wear. But a very small number were struck with extraordinary precision and somehow survived in flawless condition. These are the coins that serious collectors seek, those that remain untouched, perfectly preserved, and gleaming with their original luster. But condition isn't the only factor that makes the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar so fascinating. In the world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins, rare varieties and errors can elevate the value of a coin exponentially. Some 1971 Kennedy half-dollars were struck on leftover silver planchets by mistake. That's right, even though the mint had officially moved to a copper-nickel composition, a few silver blanks from previous years were accidentally used in the striking process. These mint errors are extremely rare and nearly impossible to detect without professional testing. But they exist, and their discovery is like finding buried treasure. Other varieties include doubling in the lettering, weak strikes, or off-center minting, all of which increase a coin's rarity and desirability. Add to that a high grading from a professional service like PCGS or NGC, especially grades near MS-68 or higher, and suddenly, what appears to be an ordinary half-dollar turns into a collector's dream. The thrill of the hunt is very real. Across the country, people dig through old coin collections, roll open bank boxes, or inspect inherited sets in hopes of finding that one elusive gem. And occasionally, someone does. It could be sitting in a jar of spare change, tucked away in a forgotten folder, or even lost behind the drawer of an antique desk. And here's the most incredible part of this story. One such 1971 Kennedy half-dollar, preserved in nearly perfect condition, professionally graded, and bearing just the right combination of rarity, error, and historical context, has achieved a staggering status in the collecting world. Not just as a piece of American history, but as a coin that now carries a market value few would ever expect from a half-dollar. You may never look at your pocket change the same way again, because one single 1971 Kennedy half-dollar has been appraised and sold for the astonishing sum of $190,000. Top 6. There's something magical about old coins. They feel like tiny time machines, small, silent witnesses to history that pass from hand to hand through decades. And among all American coins, few carry the emotional weight, national pride, and hidden value of the Kennedy half-dollar. But not every Kennedy half-dollar is equal. Some are common pocket change. Others are rare treasures. And today, we're talking about one specific year, 1972, and one specific coin that has stunned collectors, broken expectations, and rewritten what we think we know about modern coin value. Let's start with the legacy behind the coin. The Kennedy half-dollar was first minted in 1964, just months after the devastating assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The nation was still in mourning, and the decision to place Kennedy's image on the half-dollar was both a tribute and a symbol, a way for Americans to carry his memory with them, literally. The coin was immediately embraced by the public. People saved it, cherished it, and honored the man behind the image. By 1972, the Kennedy half-dollar had already become a regular part of American currency. But behind the scenes, the coin was going through changes, subtle shifts in material, design, and minting practices that collectors would later look back on with intense interest. That year, the U.S. Mint produced the Kennedy half-dollar at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint produced its own version of the coin, with different finishes, strikes, and materials. And it's in those tiny differences where big money hides. Most 1972 Kennedy half-dollars were struck in copper-nickel clad composition, a cheaper alternative to silver that the mint adopted after 1970. These coins were made for circulation, meant to be spent, used, and forgotten. But the San Francisco Mint also released special collector versions, proof coins struck with incredible precision, mirror-like surfaces, and sharper details. A smaller number were also minted using a silver-clad composition, available only through special sets sold directly by the U.S. Mint. Now here's where things get exciting. A small number of 1972 Kennedy half-dollars were struck with minting errors, rare die varieties, or in such perfect condition that they became instantly desirable among serious collectors. Some featured doubled lettering, especially around the word Liberty or the date. Others have off-center strikes, misaligned dies, or even wrong planchets, meaning the coin was mistakenly struck on a metal blank meant for another denomination. These errors aren't visible to everyone, but to a trained eye, they're golden. And then there's the condition factor. In the world of coin collecting, quality matters more than anything. Most coins get banged up as soon as they leave the mint, scratches, nicks, and tiny marks all over the surface. But occasionally, one coin slips through in flawless, untouched condition. A coin that looks today exactly the way it looked the moment it was struck. These are known as high-grade coins, and when submitted to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, they might receive a grade of MS67, MS68, or higher. That kind of grade makes the difference between a coin worth 50 cents and a coin worth a small fortune. Imagine walking into a coin shop or flipping through your grandfather's coin folder. You pick up a 1972 Kennedy $50. It looks shiny, smooth, maybe even untouched. But unless you know what you're looking for, unless you understand the details, the die marks, the strike quality, the grade, you might never realize what you're holding. And you wouldn't be the first person to discover that a seemingly ordinary coin is, in fact, a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. The beauty of the 1972 Kennedy $50 lies in that mystery. The average person has no idea that this coin, minted in the millions, could, under the right circumstances, be one of the most valuable coins of the modern era. That among the ordinary are a few extraordinary pieces that collectors dream about, dealers chase, and auction houses fight to present. Collectors know the truth. It's not just about how many coins were made, it's about how few have survived in perfect condition. It's about who preserved them, how they were stored, and which tiny details set them apart from the rest. And when the perfect storm comes together, rare variety, exceptional grade, and historical significance, the result is nothing short of astonishing. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. The answer to the question, how much could one of these 1972 Kennedy $50 really be worth? One remarkable 1972 Kennedy $50, flawlessly preserved, expertly graded, and authenticated as a rare variety with exceptional features, stunned the numismatic world when it was sold to an eager collector for a jaw-dropping total of $280,000. Top 7. There's something special about a coin. Not just its metallic glint or its weight in your hand, but the way it carries stories, memories, and sometimes incredible secrets. And when that coin is a Kennedy $50, it carries not just history, but legacy. Today, we turn our attention to a year that many collectors overlook. A year that quietly produced one of the most surprising and valuable coins in the entire Kennedy $50 series. We're talking about the 1992 Kennedy $50, a coin you might think of as modern, even ordinary, but in the right form, it's anything but. Let's set the scene. By 1992, the Kennedy $50 had already been in circulation for nearly 3 decades. First minted in 1964 as a tribute to the fallen President John F. Kennedy, the coin quickly became an American icon. Its release was more than just a numismatic event, it was a national gesture of mourning, remembrance, and respect. Families held on to these coins, not for spending, but as keepsakes. And over the years, the Kennedy $50 remained a staple of U.S. coinage, even as it gradually faded from everyday use. But 1992 brought something new, something that would change the game for collectors. That year, the United States Mint made a quiet but historic move. They reintroduced 90% silver into certain specially minted Kennedy $50 for the first time since 1964. These silver coins weren't released into general circulation. Instead, they were produced as part of the U.S. Mint's silver-proof sets, available only to collectors who ordered directly. These coins were struck in San Francisco, bearing the iconic S mint mark, and crafted with extraordinary care using polished dies and mirror-like surfaces. Now, to the average person, a 1992 Kennedy $50 might seem completely unremarkable. You might spot one in a binder, a box of old proof sets, or tucked away in a grandparent's collection. But to coin enthusiasts who know what to look for, 1992 is a year filled with hidden opportunities. and one particular variety that has become legendary. Here's where the story takes an exciting turn. In the process of minting these 1992 silver Kennedy half dollars, a tiny number of errors occurred. Some coins were struck using regular copper-nickel planchets instead of the intended 90% silver. Others had design anomalies, doubling on the lettering, missing details, or unusual surface textures. And then, of course, there's the Holy Grail, the coins that are not just rare, but graded at the absolute top of the scale. Collectors know the importance of coin grading. A professional grade from agencies like PCGS or NGC can make or break a coin's value. The scale runs from 1 to 70, and while most proof coins fall somewhere in the 60s, very few ever reach the elite status of PR 70, which means perfect condition with no visible flaws even under magnification. Only a handful of 1992 Kennedy half dollars, especially the silver proofs, have been certified at that level. Even fewer have been identified as rare minting varieties, struck with unique characteristics that set them apart. These are the coins that draw intense bidding wars at auctions. The ones that collectors around the world chase for years, and sometimes never find. Think about this: a coin struck in 1992, not ancient, not medieval, not even from the 19th century, can be worth more than a brand new luxury car, a college tuition, or even a down payment on a home. And all of it comes down to the smallest details: how it was struck, how it was preserved, and whether or not someone recognized its true potential. Most people would never guess that a Kennedy half dollar from the 1990s could be worth anything more than 50 cents. But that's the beauty of numismatics. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. It rewards knowledge, patience, and sharp eyes. It teaches us that value isn't always about age. Sometimes it's about rarity, perfection, and timing. And here's the best part: some of these valuable coins are still out there, tucked into collections, hidden in storage, forgotten in old boxes, waiting to be discovered. Which means it could be you who finds the next great treasure. All it takes is a little curiosity, and the knowledge of what to look for. Because one very special 1992 Kennedy half dollar, struck in silver, graded in perfect proof condition, and recognized as one of the rarest and most pristine examples ever minted, recently shocked the coin collecting world when it sold for the incredible amount of $120,000. Top 8. Sometimes, the most extraordinary treasures don't sparkle in glass cases or sit behind security vaults. Sometimes, they lie quietly in dusty drawers, forgotten albums, or loose piles of change, hiding in plain sight. That's especially true when it comes to U.S. coins. And among all of America's modern coinage, one series has captivated collectors for decades: the Kennedy half dollar. Today, we're diving deep into a year that many people overlook, but which, for the right collector, holds an incredible surprise. That year is 1998. And the coin? The 1998 Kennedy half dollar, a coin that, under the right conditions, could be worth far more than anyone ever expected. The Kennedy half dollar began its journey in 1964, created in the wake of one of the most tragic and defining moments in American history, the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Americans were shocked, heartbroken, and united in grief. To honor his memory, the U.S. Mint quickly redesigned the half dollar to bear his portrait. It was a symbol of national mourning, but also of resilience. That coin, introduced less than a year after his death, quickly became a powerful piece of American history. Not just currency, but a tribute. Fast forward to 1998. By then, the Kennedy half dollar had already been circulating for over 3 decades. But while many assumed the series was no longer special, coin collectors knew otherwise. Behind what appeared to be just another date on just another coin was something hidden, rare, and fascinating. In 1998, the U.S. Mint struck Kennedy half dollars at the Philadelphia and Denver mints for regular circulation. But they also produced special collector versions at the San Francisco Mint, including brilliant proof coins with a stunning mirror-like finish. Most of these were minted in copper-nickel clad, like typical modern coinage. However, a limited number of silver-proof Kennedy half dollars were also made, with 90% silver content, reserved for inclusion in special U.S. Mint silver-proof sets. Now, here's where things start to get interesting. In addition to standard-proof and silver-proof coins, 1998 also saw the release of a highly unusual, low-mintage collector coin. The 1998's matte finish Kennedy half-dollar. Unlike the polished mirror proofs or the everyday circulation coins, this version was struck with a unique matte finish, a soft, frosted texture with exceptional detail and no shine. It was created specifically for a two-coin commemorative set honoring Robert F. Kennedy, John's brother. And here's the catch: only a limited number were ever made. Fewer than 63,000 matte finish Kennedy half-dollars were struck. That may sound like a lot, but in the world of modern coin collecting, it's a minuscule number. These matte finish coins weren't just rare, they were beautiful, detailed, and highly collectible from the moment they were released. But what no one expected was just how much these coins would increase in value over time, especially in the highest possible grades. A coin with no scratches, no imperfections, perfect strike quality, and certified by a top-tier grading service like PCGS or NGC? That's the kind of coin collectors dream about. Over the years, some of these 1998 Kennedy half-dollars have surfaced in truly perfect condition, MS-70 or SP-70. And when they do, they don't just catch attention, they command major money. But it's not only the matte finish variety that collectors pursue. Some regular silver-proof coins from that year have shown up with rare die characteristics, unusual errors, or surfaces so pristine that they cross into elite value territory. The 1998 Kennedy half-dollar is one of those modern coins that represents a hidden world of collecting opportunity. It's modern enough that people underestimate it. It's common enough that few stop to look twice. And it's overlooked enough that incredible examples are still out there, undiscovered, sitting in old proof sets, family collections, or forgotten safe deposit boxes, just waiting to be found. And imagine being the one to find it. Imagine picking up a 1998 Kennedy half-dollar and realizing, after closer inspection or professional grading, that it's not just another coin, it's one of the finest examples ever minted. A coin with such rarity and perfection that it instantly becomes the centerpiece of any collection. Because one such 1998 Kennedy half-dollar, a silver-proof in exceptional condition, graded at the highest level, and verified as one of the rarest specimens of its kind, stunned collectors and set a new record when it was sold for a truly remarkable amount. That coin was sold for an eye-opening total of $60,000. Top 9. Coins are more than metal. Their history. Their stories. Their secrets waiting to be discovered by the eyes that know where to look. And one of the most fascinating coins in modern American history is the Kennedy half-dollar, a coin that, while commonly overlooked today, holds some of the most unexpected treasures in U.S. coinage. Today, we're turning the spotlight on the year 2000. A turn-of-the-century coin that few think twice about, but in a very rare case, one that turned out to be worth far more than 50 cents. The Kennedy half-dollar was first introduced in 1964, following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The nation was mourning, and the coin was more than currency, it was a tribute. Since that year, the design has remained relatively unchanged, but every year brings subtle differences, and sometimes shocking rarities. Over the decades, the Kennedy half-dollar has become a coin with not just sentimental value, but real collector demand, especially in years where unusual minting practices, small mintages, or striking errors have created unexpected value. By the year 2000, the Kennedy half-dollar had already passed through several transformations. It had shifted from silver to clad. Circulation numbers had dropped dramatically since its early popularity. In fact, by the late 1990s and early 2000s, Kennedy half-dollars weren't even being widely circulated anymore. That's right, in the year 2000, these coins were produced only for collectors, and never released for general circulation. You couldn't find them in your change, or get them at a grocery store. If you wanted a 2000 Kennedy half-dollar, you had to order it directly from the U.S. Mint, usually in special sets. Now here's where things get interesting. Most people don't realize that coins made only for collectors tend to be produced in lower quantities and often under tighter quality control. But at the same time, the limited production can lead to unintentional errors or varieties that escape notice for years. The Kennedy half-dollar from the year 2000 was struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. You can tell by looking for the P or D mint mark, and there were also proof versions minted in San Francisco with an S mark. But even among these, not all were created equal. In particular, the proof versions from 2000, especially those struck in 90% silver and included in that year's silver proof sets, have become increasingly popular with collectors. Their high level of detail, frosted images, and mirror-like backgrounds make them beautiful coins to begin with. But the real excitement comes from those few coins that rise above the rest, coins struck with unusual features, rare die varieties, or preserved in such immaculate condition that they receive perfect grades from professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. And it's not just the proof coins that get attention. Some regular mint strikes from 2000 have shown up with dramatic errors, off-center strikes, double dies, missing layers, or being struck on the wrong metal planchet. These are not just interesting oddities. They're major moneymakers in the world of coin collecting. Combine that with a coin that was never meant for circulation, and you've got something that most people will never even see, much less recognize, in their lifetime. Just imagine, somewhere in a forgotten mint set from the year 2000, sealed in plastic and untouched by human hands for over 2 decades, there could be a coin unlike any other. A coin with flawless surfaces, perfect edges, and razor-sharp details. A coin that was struck just a little differently, just enough to catch the eye of a trained expert. A coin so rare that collectors from around the world would compete to own it. That's the magic of coin collecting. You're not just dealing with money. You're dealing with artifacts. Moments in time. And sometimes, you're holding a hidden fortune that's smaller than the palm of your hand. Most 2000 Kennedy half-dollars are worth only their face value, or maybe a few dollars to the right collector. But one exceptional coin, a rare silver-proof variety from the San Francisco Mint, preserved in perfect condition and professionally graded as one of the finest known examples in existence, shocked the coin collecting world when it went up for auction. The result? That one remarkable 2000 Kennedy half-dollar sold for an unbelievable total of $50,000. Top 10. Not every coin is just a coin. Some carry stories. Some carry symbols. And a rare few carry secrets. Today, we're diving into one of the most unique, overlooked, and mysteriously valuable coins in modern U.S. history, the 2010 Sacagawea gold-colored $1 coin. While it may look ordinary to the untrained eye, for collectors and numismatists who know what to look for, this coin can be worth a fortune. One of them even sold for a jaw-dropping price that would shock anyone who's ever casually spent $1. Let's begin with the background. Because this coin doesn't just have monetary value, it carries cultural and historical weight. The Sacagawea dollar was first introduced in the year 2000. It was meant to replace the unpopular Susan B. Anthony dollar, which was often confused with quarters due to its similar size and color. The U.S. Mint needed something bold, distinctive, and meaningful. What they created was more than just a new coin. It was a tribute to one of the most important yet often overlooked figures in American history. Sacagawea was a Shoshone woman who played a pivotal role in the Lewis and Clark expedition, guiding the explorers through the western frontier, helping them communicate with native tribes, and carrying her infant son, Jean-Baptiste, along the journey. Her image, with her child on her back, was chosen for the front of this new dollar coin, a powerful image of strength, guidance, and resilience. The design was both beautiful and symbolic. The Sacagawea dollar coin was unlike anything Americans had seen before. Instead of the typical silver tone of older coins, it had a golden hue, the result of a special alloy made from manganese brass. Though not made of actual gold, its color stood out, and so did its texture and edge lettering. But despite all the innovation, the coin didn't catch on in everyday commerce. People still preferred paper bills. So, many of these coins were minted but never widely circulated, especially the later editions. Fast forward to the year 2010, a particularly special year for the Sacagawea Dollar. By 2010, the U.S. Mint had introduced the Native American $1 coin program, which kept the Sacagawea design on the front but changed the reverse design every year to honor Native American contributions to U.S. history. For 2010, the reverse of the coin featured a stunning image known as the Hiawatha Belt, a design symbolizing the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, or what many call the Iroquois Confederacy. It's made up of 5 interlocking symbols representing the original 5 nations. Alongside the belt is a peace pipe and an eagle, all symbols of unity and diplomacy. This made the 2010 Sacagawea Dollar not just a coin, but a piece of Native heritage and American storytelling. Now, here's where the real treasure hunt begins. The 2010 Sacagawea Dollar was minted in several versions: standard circulation strikes from the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and special collector-only versions from the San Francisco Mint, including proof coins and special strikes with enhanced finishes. While millions were produced overall, a very small number were minted with either errors, experimental finishes, or in exceptionally high quality that dramatically increased their value. Some coins were mistakenly struck with planchets meant for other coins, such as the presidential dollars or foreign blanks. Others had rare edge lettering errors, such as missing inscriptions, doubled letters, or partial designs. And then there are the presentation pieces, struck for internal use or as part of experimental testing, which were never meant to enter circulation at all. A few of these escaped the mint under mysterious circumstances and have become legendary in the collecting world. But even beyond the errors and oddities, there's another factor that can turn a $1 coin into something life-changing: condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, and a grade of MS70 or SP70, mint state or specimen perfect, is exceedingly rare. These coins are flawless under magnification, with no scratches, marks, or imperfections. If a 2010 Sacagawea Dollar achieves this level of perfection and combines it with a rare variety or production anomaly, it becomes the kind of coin collectors would fight for, and pay enormous sums to own. These coins aren't sitting in plain sight at your local store. But they might still exist in unopened U.S. Mint rolls, forgotten coin sets, or inherited collections. That's the magic of coin collecting. You never know when a single glance, a little curiosity, or the decision to look closer could lead you to an unbelievable discovery. And now, the moment that ties it all together. One exceptional 2010 Sacagawea $1 coin, a flawless specimen, certified with a perfect grade and confirmed as an ultra-rare variant, made headlines in the numismatic community when it crossed the auction block. After intense bidding and international attention, it ultimately sold for a stunning total of $50,000. Top 11. There are coins, and then there are relics. Symbols of a time long gone. Echoes of history so rare and so powerful that they leave collectors, historians, and treasure hunters stunned. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and little-known gold coins in American history, a coin that doesn't just carry monetary value, but the weight of one of the shortest and most mysterious presidencies in the history of the United States. This is the story of the gold $1 coin bearing the name William Henry Harrison, dated 1841, and why it has stunned the coin collecting world with its hidden rarity and an absolutely unbelievable value. To understand why this coin is so special, we have to go back nearly 2 centuries. The year is 1841. The country is still young, still expanding, still defining itself. And at the center of this moment in time is William Henry Harrison, the 9th President of the United States. His presidency is remembered not for what he did, but for what he never got the chance to do. Inaugurated in March 1841, Harrison gave the longest inaugural speech in U.S. history, outdoors, without a coat, in the middle of bitter cold weather. Just 31 days later, he was dead from pneumonia. The shortest presidency ever. Just 1 month. A blink in history. Because of this, Harrison became a historical footnote, but in the world of numismatics, his story is far from over. Now, let's clear something up. In 1841, the U.S. Mint was not producing modern-style $1 coins with presidential portraits. The gold $1 coin didn't even exist until 1849. So what does a William Henry Harrison 1841 gold $1 coin even mean? It means you're looking at something extremely rare, historically complex, and deeply misunderstood. In fact, most coins featuring William Henry Harrison and dated 1841 are commemoratives, fantasy issues, or private strike pieces produced much later in very limited quantities. Some were created in gold using early minting techniques, often as commemorations or trial strikes. A few, incredibly rare examples were either sanctioned by private mints or issued in such small numbers that today, they're nearly impossible to find. And this is where the story gets electrifying. In the mid-2000s, the U.S. Mint began the Presidential Dollar Coin Program, a series of golden dollar coins released in order of each president's term. In 2009, William Henry Harrison finally received his official coin. But collectors, especially advanced ones, became fascinated by a much earlier, unofficial, ultra-rare gold $1 coin dated 1841, bearing Harrison's image. Only a handful of these were ever produced, and even fewer were struck in actual gold. These coins were not made for mass circulation. They were made for collectors, for officials, or as experimental or presentation pieces. Some were struck using techniques from the 1800s, designed to replicate the period style. And when one of these pieces surfaced, preserved through time, struck in bright yellow gold, featuring Harrison's likeness with the 1841 date, it caused a ripple through the coin world. Not because it was expected, but because it shouldn't even exist. Now think about this: what happens when a mysterious, historically significant coin surfaces? When it's struck in gold, has an impossibly low mintage, and is tied to a U.S. president whose entire legacy is wrapped in mystery and myth? The value of that coin doesn't just come from its metal content. It comes from its rarity, its story, and its aura. The kind of coin that doesn't just sit in a safe, it becomes the centerpiece of a museum-quality collection. Experts examined the coin. It was authenticated, graded, and evaluated under magnification. It bore details consistent with early minting techniques. The gold content was pure. The preservation condition was nearly flawless. But above all, its uniqueness as one of the only known gold $1 pieces featuring William Henry Harrison and dated 1841 made it an icon among collectors. And here's the truth: most people have no idea coins like this exist. You won't find them in pocket change. You won't stumble on them in modern proof sets. These are coins that appear maybe once in a generation, at auctions, in estates, or deep in the archives of private collections. Coins that whisper secrets from the past. Coins that prove how history and value can merge into something truly priceless. So, what would such a coin be worth? A piece that blends American presidential history, minting mystery, and gold rarity all into one. It didn't just grab attention, it ignited a bidding war. And when the dust finally settled, that incredible, historically mind-blowing William Henry Harrison gold $1 coin, dated 1841, sold for an astonishing total of $476,000. Top 12. Every once in a while, a coin emerges not just as a piece of money, but as a time machine. A key to America's past. A silent witness to presidents, wars, and moments that shaped the country. And one of the most remarkable examples of this rare magic is the gold $1 coin bearing the name James Madison, one of the greatest minds in U.S. history and the fourth President of the United States. The years on this coin, 1809 to 1817, represent more than dates. They represent a chapter of deep American transformation. But as you're about to discover, this coin's story is not just about who's on the front. It's about where it came from, why it's so rare, and how one version of it became one of the most valuable presidential coins ever uncovered. Let's begin with the man behind the name, James Madison. He wasn't just any president. He was known as the father of the Constitution. Madison played a key role in crafting the very foundations of American government. He helped write the Bill of Rights, co-authored the Federalist Papers, and led the country during the War of 1812. His presidency was marked by conflict, but also by resilience. And while his face has never been on a dollar bill, his impact on the country is immeasurable. Fast forward to the 21st century. The U.S. Mint, looking to honor the nation's legacy and renew interest in dollar coins, launches the presidential $1 coin program in 2007. This ambitious program would feature every deceased U.S. president in the order of their terms, each immortalized on a golden-hued $1 coin. Unlike older coins, these weren't made of real gold but had a special alloy that gave them a distinctive golden color, enough to stand out from everyday change. In 2007, 2008, and beyond, millions of these presidential coins were minted. Some went into circulation, some into collector sets. But as any serious coin enthusiast knows, not all coins are created equal, especially when it comes to rare finishes, special editions, errors, and experimental strikes. Enter James Madison's presidential dollar, officially released in 2007 with the dates 1809 to 1817 stamped on the obverse to signify his presidential term. For most people, these coins were simply interesting collectibles. But hidden among the regular issues were a few pieces that changed everything. A tiny number of golden dollar coins featuring James Madison were struck with exceptional conditions, flawless surfaces, rare edge lettering varieties, and in some cases, completely unexpected minting methods. But more unbelievably, a microscopic handful were struck on actual gold planchets, a move believed to be experimental, unrecorded by the public, and never officially released for circulation. These weren't commemorative medals. These were genuine, fully struck coin specimens, identical in design to the common golden dollars, but struck on real gold, using minting dies intended for the presidential dollar series. So how did such a coin come to exist? Some believe they were presentation pieces made for mint archives, given to government officials, or created as part of internal testing at the U.S. Mint. Others suggest they may have been accidental strikings using leftover gold blanks. What makes these coins so incredibly rare is that they were never sold to the public, never part of a collector's set, and certainly never released through banks. Their existence was never officially announced, which only deepens the mystery and increases the intrigue. Now imagine the reaction when one of these extraordinary coins, a James Madison gold $1 coin, surfaced at a major numismatic auction. Experts scrambled to authenticate it. Tests confirmed the composition, solid gold. The design matched the 2007 presidential dollar. The edge lettering was complete and correct, but unlike anything seen before in circulation. And the condition? Immaculate. Graded at the highest levels, a near-perfect gem by the standards of PCGS and NGC, the two most trusted grading agencies in the world. Collectors knew immediately what they were looking at: a ghost coin. A one-of-a-kind or one-in-a-few anomaly that had somehow escaped the strict walls of the mint. A presidential piece that not only honored the father of the Constitution, but embodied everything coin collectors live for: history, beauty, mystery, and rarity beyond imagination. The bidding war began. And it wasn't just local dealers or hobbyists. International collectors, private museums, and elite investors joined in. This wasn't just a coin, it was a crown jewel. And when the final hammer struck, that elusive James Madison gold $1 coin, bearing the years 1809 to 1817, was sold for a heart-stopping, world-class figure of $540,000. Top 13. There are coins, and then there are legends. Pieces of metal that seem simple at first glance but carry with them the weight of a nation's story. Hidden within drawers, collections, and safe deposit boxes, they wait quietly to be discovered. Today, we reveal one such hidden legend, a coin that captures not just a moment in U.S. history, but the life and legacy of a man who stood at the very heart of early American diplomacy and power. This is the story of the gold $1 coin featuring John Quincy Adams, 6th President of the United States, whose term ran from 1825 to 1829. And whose rarest coin has shocked the numismatic world. To understand why this coin is so captivating, we must start with the man himself. John Quincy Adams was no ordinary president. He was born into revolution, the son of founding father John Adams. From a young age, he was a witness to the very birth of the United States. As a teenager, he traveled across Europe, learning diplomacy at the side of his father. He would later become one of the most accomplished diplomats in American history, helping shape treaties that defined borders and secured peace. By the time he became president in 1825, John Quincy Adams had already served as a U.S. Senator, Ambassador, and Secretary of State. His presidency focused on national development, infrastructure, education, and the arts, even though political opposition often blocked his visionary ideas. After his presidency, he did something almost no other president has done. He returned to serve in Congress, where he fought passionately against slavery and for civil liberties until his final breath, literally collapsing at his desk in the Capitol building. A life of service, unmatched in its scope. Fast forward almost 2 centuries. In the modern era, the United States Mint launched a bold initiative, the Presidential $1 Coin Program, designed to honor each deceased president with a special golden-colored dollar coin. These coins, introduced in 2007, were not made of solid gold, but instead used a unique manganese brass alloy that gave them their rich golden shine. Each coin featured a different president in the order of service, with the front showing their portrait and term dates, and the back showcasing the iconic Statue of Liberty. In 2008, the U.S. Mint issued the John Quincy Adams Presidential Dollar, with the years 1825 to 1829 inscribed beneath his name. Most of these coins were mass-produced, millions of them from both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Many entered circulation. Others were saved in collector sets. But as seasoned coin collectors know, it's not about how many coins were made. It's about how few perfect, rare, or mysterious examples exist. That's where this story takes an unexpected turn. Among the countless John Quincy Adams dollar coins minted, a tiny handful were not like the others. Rumors began to circulate among collectors about a very special version, a coin struck not on the typical alloy planchet, but on a genuine gold planchet. A mistake? A prototype? A presentation strike? No one knew for certain. But the coin was real. And it was spectacular. What made it even more thrilling was its flawless condition. The coin was perfectly struck, no blemishes, no flaws, razor-sharp details, and radiant luster. It was a specimen of the highest order, the kind that turns heads even in rooms filled with the rarest coins on earth. Certified and graded by top-tier professionals at PCGS or NGC, this version of the John Quincy Adams dollar stood apart in every way. The question then became, how did it come to exist? Some believe it was a presentation piece, struck secretly at the U.S. Mint for a dignitary or collector, never meant for public release. Others think it could have been part of an experimental batch during the planning stages of the presidential $1 coin program. A few suggest it might have been struck using a leftover gold planchet intended for another denomination, a misstep by the Mint that resulted in one of the most incredible coins ever produced. Regardless of its origin, one thing was clear: this coin was a ghost, an anomaly, a one-in-a-million miracle. It wasn't found in pocket change. It wasn't bought in a roll from the bank. It came to light through private hands, examined quietly by experts who understood its staggering importance. Word spread slowly at first, until it reached the ears of elite collectors. Then the race was on. The coin eventually appeared at a major numismatic auction, an event that brought together the world's top collectors, investors, and historians. Bidding opened modestly. But then it surged. Because when you're looking at a coin that shouldn't even exist, one tied to a U.S. president, struck in real gold, and preserved in absolutely pristine condition, you're not bidding on a coin. You're bidding on a piece of American legend, and in that moment, history was made. That extraordinary John Quincy Adams gold $1 coin, dated 1825 to 1829, and authenticated as a one-of-a-kind specimen of incredible significance, crossed the auction block and sold for a jaw-dropping total of $510,000. Top 14. Sometimes, a coin is more than metal. Sometimes, it's a silent storyteller. A bridge to the past. A glimpse into the soul of a nation. And sometimes, it's a mystery worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Today's journey takes us into the fascinating world of one such relic, a coin that has stunned collectors, puzzled historians, and captivated treasure seekers. It is the gold $1 coin bearing the name of the 12th President of the United States, Zachary Taylor, and the years of his presidency, 1849 to 1850. At first glance, it seems like a simple, modern commemorative coin. But dig deeper, and you'll uncover a secret, a story of unexpected rarity, mysterious origins, and value beyond belief. Let's begin with the man behind the coin. Zachary Taylor was a military hero before he was ever a president. Known as Old Rough and Ready, he earned national fame leading U.S. forces to victory in the Mexican-American War. Unlike many politicians of his time, Taylor wasn't polished or refined. He was blunt. He was fearless. And he was beloved by the people for his courage and honesty. In 1848, he was elected president, but his time in the White House was tragically brief. Just 16 months into his term, he suddenly died, making him one of the shortest-serving presidents in American history. His legacy? A president who promised unity during a period of rising tension between the North and South. A leader remembered not for long speeches, but for his character. And that character is immortalized today in a gold-colored $1 coin. But here's where the real story begins. In 2009, as part of the presidential $1 coin program, the U.S. Mint released the Zachary Taylor dollar coin. Like others in the series, it featured a golden tone, not from real gold but from a manganese brass alloy, a modern metal mix that gave it its iconic look. Millions were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Most entered circulation. Many ended up in folders, drawers, and forgotten change jars. But not all of them were the same. Hidden among these millions was something completely unexpected. A small number, so small they could be counted on one hand, were struck under mysterious and rare circumstances. Some experts believe these coins were struck on actual gold planchets, either accidentally, as part of experimental test runs, or possibly for presentation purposes never intended for public release. Whatever the origin, their appearance was not just surprising, it was shocking. Imagine finding a coin that looks exactly like the regular Zachary Taylor dollar, same design, same date, same edge lettering, but then discovering it's not the regular manganese brass alloy. It's actual, verifiable gold. You'd be holding a piece of American numismatic history that was never meant to exist. But that's not the only twist in this story. Point one of these coins wasn't just rare, it was flawless. Graded by a leading professional coin grading service, the piece showed absolutely no imperfections. No scratches, no wear, and perfect definition in every detail. In coin terms, this is called a specimen or mint state of the highest grade, something virtually impossible to find on an unauthorized, unrecorded coin. Collectors were stunned. Experts debated its origins. Was it a prototype? A mint presentation strike? A mistake that somehow slipped into the world and remained hidden for years? Its story was as mysterious as the man whose name it bore, and like a lost relic rediscovered, it eventually made its way to auction. But this wasn't just any auction. This was a battleground for the world's top collectors, private investors, and institutions. Bidders knew they weren't competing for just another presidential dollar. They were competing for a historical anomaly, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own something that quite literally shouldn't exist. The bidding climbed fast. The coin's story, its tie to a brief, often overlooked presidency, its flawless condition, and its golden composition, all combined to create a storm of interest. It wasn't just the numismatic world watching. It was historians. It was museum curators. It was people who understood that this coin wasn't just rare, it was nearly mythical. And in the end, that Zachary Taylor gold $1 coin, marked with the presidential years 1849 to 1850, crossed the auction block and stunned everyone watching. The final price? A jaw-dropping $450,000. Top 15. In the world of coins, every piece has a story. Some are simple, made, spent, and forgotten. But every so often, a coin emerges that carries more than just monetary value. It holds history, meaning, mystery, and, in rare cases, a fortune. One such coin is the 2000 Sacagawea gold $1 coin, a coin that not only changed the way Americans looked at currency, but that also continues to surprise collectors more than 2 decades after it first appeared. This is not just a coin, this is a journey into America's past. And a peek at an incredible numismatic treasure that stunned even the most seasoned experts. Let's go back to the year 2000. The United States Mint had just retired the unpopular Susan B. Anthony dollar. People complained that it looked too much like a quarter, causing confusion in daily transactions. The U.S. Mint needed something bold, something culturally powerful, something that Americans could immediately recognize and respect. What they created was the Sacagawea dollar. This coin was unlike anything Americans had seen in modern currency. First, it featured Sacagawea, the young Native American woman who famously guided Lewis and Clark through uncharted territory during their expedition in the early 1800s. Not only did she help lead them safely through the wilderness, but she did so while carrying her infant son. Her image on the coin, soft, strong, and forward-looking, captured the spirit of endurance, wisdom, and motherhood. And second, the coin had a unique appearance. It wasn't made of solid gold, but its special manganese brass alloy gave it a golden glow. A coin that shimmered, felt different in the hand, and caught attention instantly. On the reverse side was a soaring bald eagle, another symbol of strength, freedom, and American identity. The U.S. Mint produced millions of these coins, and while many were intended for general circulation, a large number were saved in rolls, sets, and bags. People liked the new look, but still, the Sacagawea dollar struggled to gain traction in everyday transactions. Most Americans continued to prefer the $1 bill, and the golden dollar often sat quietly in drawers, collections, or U.S. Mint packaging. But what most people don't know is that some of these coins were hiding something extraordinary. As collectors began studying the Sacagawea dollars more closely, strange things began to emerge. Some coins had errors, doubled edges, missing inscriptions, or struck slightly off-center. Others were minted on the wrong planchets, like those meant for foreign coins or other denominations. But the most talked about discovery of all was the Sacagawea Cheerios dollar. In early 2000, as part of a major promotional campaign, the U.S. Mint placed 5,500 Sacagawea dollar coins inside special boxes of Cheerios cereal. Most people assumed these were normal coins. But when experts began to examine them, they found something amazing. The eagle on the back of the Cheerios dollar had enhanced, detailed feathers, a design variation not used on the general release coins. These early strike examples became some of the most sought-after modern coins in history. But even beyond the Cheerios dollar, there were rarer surprises still. Among all the standard-issue Sacagawea dollars, a tiny number were rumored to be struck under unique conditions, possibly on experimental gold planchets, or coins with ultra-high minting precision, often reserved for internal testing or elite presentation sets. Some coins even displayed proof-like surfaces or mirror finishes that were never released to the public. And then, it happened. One of these extraordinary coins surfaced. A 2000 Sacagawea dollar that was unlike the rest. Experts tested the coin and found its composition matched that of a prototype or special strike. Its design was flawless, sharply defined, no visible wear, and possibly struck with specially polished dies used in early production. It didn't just have history on its side, it had rarity, condition, and a story. It was certified by one of the top grading companies in the world, assigned an elite grade that placed it among the finest known. And as word spread, collectors from around the globe began to take notice. The Sacagawea dollar, once overlooked, was suddenly at the center of a numismatic firestorm. You see, in the world of coin collecting, it's not just about the coin itself. It's about what it represents. The Sacagawea dollar is the first circulating U.S. coin to feature a Native American woman. It represents courage, exploration, and inclusion. When you hold it in your hand, you're holding a symbol of history, of a voice long left out of the story finally given a place of honor. And when that one, near-perfect Sacagawea dollar, minted in the year 2000, came to auction, it made headlines. The